up, boys? What up, boys? Welcome
What's
back,
going
baby.
on, Johnny.
Woo! Back in the saddle again.
Oh, yeah.
I know we took a little bit of a hiatus. Had a lot going on. What the hell is that, boy? Woo! That's one way to start this bitch off,
Yeah,
huh?
right?
Wow.
You know what's funny is we found we had to find a replacement for Maynard this week.
Oh, yeah.
So we did a little research in. We went around, asked around, and all we could find was a half bottle of Captain Morgan's.
Well, you know.
Hell no.
Yeah, hell yeah, because with the Maynard, he's half in, he's half out.
I love you, Maynard.
I just hope he ain't over there in Wokeville this week. Last time he was out at the old Disney park.
Nah, he ain't there. He ain't going back.
He's at Universal this week. He's at Universal.
He like the hokey pokey. He got one leg in and one leg out.
Yeah. He's shaking something. He's shaking it all about.
Hell no.
Oh man.
Oh man, yeah. It's always good to be back here in the Lion's Den, brothers.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Good to be back.
Had a lot going on in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Had a few good podcasts that I believe we dropped some pretty dang good material for.
I
our
think
listeners.
so. The YouTube channel's definitely picking up some steam. We're
Nice.
getting some views out there. And we also want to welcome our brothers and sisters in the UK.
Yes, sir. G'day, mate. No, that's Australia. My bad, buddies. I done pissed off the English. Way to go, man. I'm Irish, man. What can I say? I'm Irish.
There goes our UK views right there.
No wonder why they've been kicking our ass for all these years. Irishmen don't even keep his mouth shut.
Oh my God.
G'day, governor.
Good day, governor. There goes our other listener.
Woo. G'day,
boy.
governor.
Taking them all off in one
hopefully
shot.
No, that's all right. You know how us Americans are. We don't know no better.
Yeah, but everybody loves a little respect.
That's it, baby. It's all about that
Sure we do.
RESPECT.
Find out what it means to me.
The funny thing is I think that's one of the biggest issues we have in our culture today is we've lost the meaning of respect.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the other thing is that I'm going to say this to the ladies that listen to the podcast. You need to listen real closely to this because I think a lot of women miss this. Ladies, you got to understand something about respect when it comes to the man. A man's value on respect runs parallel with your value on love.
Yep.
Ooh, that's good, Johnny.
Yep.
That's good.
As much as you want to be loved as a woman, a man needs to be respected as a man.
That's how a man feels love.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a guy on this planet that'll look a woman in the eye and tell a woman that he feels loved if he is not getting respect.
Truth.
And you want your man to check out real quick, disrespect him.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you may have a guy that'll show up and go to work. You may have a guy that will pay the bills. A guy that will, but he'll check out on you in a millisecond. You don't show him any respect.
You bet it.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Hey, how about the definition of respect?
Oh wow, we got a scholar in the room. Scholar in the room.
Well, nowadays, man, they're constantly changing the definition of all these freaking words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're.
Well, we can just make up some shit if we want to.
Well, that's kind of what they're doing. It's like if they don't like the true meaning of it or the original meaning of it, we'll just flip it up.
Yeah.
We'll make it
Change
say
it
what
up.
we want it to say.
Change it up.
So,
Urban Dictionary. Urban.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
Exactly.
So to consider worthier of high regard, to refrain from interfering with. What else we got here? We got a bunch of them here. A high or special regard. The quality or state of being esteemed. Expression of high or special regard. So when you look at it, it's holding a man in a high regard. That's how a dude feels loved, dude. Like you were talking about how women want to be loved, men want to be respected.
Men have to be respected.
Yeah.
It's in our DNA.
Yeah, I can't stress that enough to the female listeners. Men have to be respected. If you want a man to lead and you want a real man, you've got to show him respect.
Yeah.
Now you go, well, he's going to earn my respect. Well, how would you feel if your husband told you you had to earn his love?
Oh.
Ouch.
I mean, it goes hand in hand. And like I said, it runs parallel. Women need love, men need respect.
Right.
And if you don't want to give a man respect, he's not going to give you true love.
He will not.
He will check out on you in a second. And you, if you ladies that are listening to this and you know what I'm talking about, you got a man that's there, but he ain't there. It's because somewhere along the line, whether you realize it or not, you've crossed the line of disrespect, and you're only getting a fragment of who and what he is.
Oh yeah.
You know, I was watching some reels the other day, and this woman put it so eloquently. She was talking about you don't ever hit a man where it hurts.
Yeah.
Because if you hit a man where it hurts, he may do the things he needs to do, but at the end of the day, he will never ever forget it.
No, don't hit a man where he's weak.
Oh, weak. That's right. Where he's weak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you hit him where he's weak,
he's
never gonna forget it.
Yeah.
Because that trust. That's the problem too. Is we live in a culture today where women say they want men to step up and show their vulnerability, to show emotions, and all these different things. Well, I'm going to tell you, the first time that a man shows his vulnerability and his emotion, and you throw it back in his face, will be the last time.
Yep. You'll never see it again. Then he's labeled toxic.
Yeah, he's not. He ain't going to share that with you but once.
Yep.
If you turn it around on him, it's over.
No doubt.
Just to be clear, we love you ladies. And the only reason we talk like this is because we do love you ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And we love the men.
Well, the other thing is they need, the truth is the truth.
Truth is the truth.
They need to hear it.
Spoken in love.
I hate to say it, brothers, but we're living in a culture today where these ladies are being fed a line of bullshit.
Big time.
Well, and another thing too is the men aren't talking to the ladies and telling them this stuff. They're not telling them the truth.
Well, because they don't, because most dudes have stepped into that area in their life and they've gotten burned.
Yeah.
And they refuse to go there again. And so they're shut off emotionally.
Yeah.
And so you don't have constructive conversation. And you don't have, that actually, those deep talks and conversations where you start peeling back the onion and getting closer to who and what you are, because there's those walls that are up.
Yeah.
And a man's heart at that point is guarded. And once you've done that, I hate to say it, but it's over.
It is, but
it's over. Now you can get it back through, time and through, being intentional and making sure that you don't cross those lines and those barriers. I mean, people make mistakes. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's always gonna be times we disrespect one another in a relationship. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
But if you blatantly disrespect a man, or you hit him where he's weak, and you belittle him, or you question his masculinity or his manhood, you're gonna have a long road.
Over.
Oh yeah.
It's over.
But
dudes will check out.
They will, without a doubt. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. But as men, we also have to, especially with a significant other, if it's your wife, I'm thinking on a marital level right now, not a boyfriend girlfriend level. I mean a serious marital level. You can't just hide in that. You have to speak up. You have to explain to her what's going on and why things are happening, because you'll see what they'll end up seeing is they'll end up seeing you go to work or hanging out with your buddies and being a completely different person than you are when you're home, because you're getting the respect out there. You're getting the respect at work. You're getting the respect with your friends.
Well, you're going to gravitate to the places you're respected.
Yeah, exactly. And that's women. They'll gravitate to the places they're loved.
Absolutely.
So that's what you have. Men, you've got to be able to.
Well, I think
it's hard.
You're right. You talk about it from a marital standpoint, but I think that the problem is we're not hitting it soon enough.
Yeah.
So I would just say to the guys, the young dudes that are listening to this podcast right now, you need to be really straight about where you stand with this.
Yeah.
And I always had this saying when I first started dating my wife. I told her, I said, I refuse to live the 6-month lie. And she was like, well, what do you mean the 6-month lie? I said, well, that's where I pretend to be something I'm not for 6 months, and you pretend to be something you're not for 6 months to please one another and to look good for one another, and then wake up 6 months from now and look at each other not to know who the hell we are.
Yeah, who they really are.
So I would, be authentic, be true to yourself, be honest, be truthful, have those conversations early on. Let your partner know right out of the rip, hey, I'm just going to be honest with you. This is a line you can't cross with me, because if you cross this line with me, I'm going to shut down.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes too, Johnny, it's not even a respect issue. It might be a personality issue that they don't mean to disrespect you. And case in point, I just had a conversation with my wife, and she's British, and she is just matter of fact. And in conversation, she would always correct me, which gets on my nerves. And she didn't even realize she was doing it. If I said it was red, then she said it was blue. And it was just, and she wasn't disrespecting me. She didn't even realize she was doing it until I called her out. But I saw it as disrespect, and it was affecting me. So you've got to have that talk. You've got to call it out. Drive you crazy.
Oh, yeah. And I think another aspect of it, what happens, especially at the beginning of a relationship, it's banter. It's busting each other's chops. It's in play.
Right.
But guys have a tendency to listen to their girlfriend at this point, cut on them, hitting them where they're weak, and they instantly start building that wall.
Well, hold on now. There's a big difference between sarcasm, joking, and that, and being blatantly disrespectful.
Yeah, big time.
And I get what you're saying, because I grew up in a family where, our way of showing love is basically busting each other's balls. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm not busting your chops or busting your balls or dogging on you, then, I don't love you. That's just how we do it in our house, right?
Yeah.
So, my sister, she grew up in that environment. She's a ball buster. She talks shit. That's what because that's what her brothers have done, right?
Right.
That's our kind of a way of affection. There's a difference between doing that, joking around and playing with your husband or whatever, and being blatantly disrespectful.
Yeah.
There's one thing with joking around and saying something, and it's another thing saying, you're a useless piece of shit. You're a poor excuse of a man. You're not this. You're not that. I mean, when that they have a certain struggle and you want to, expose that struggle or make a big deal about it to make them look bad or to make yourself look better or make them the butt of the joke. And the same thing goes for dudes out there. And you two dudes, you've known me a long time. I don't ever use my wife as a butt of a joke.
Right.
I don't disrespect my wife. I don't talk bad about my wife. I talk candidly when I'm talking to you guys as my brothers about our life and our situation.
Right.
To get your advice, your thoughts on it, because that's what men do. But I don't talk bad about my wife. And you should never talk bad about your spouse, regardless.
Right.
Because that is a level of disrespect you should never cross.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, you just look stupid anyway. Because if you're talking bad about your spouse to people and you're putting up with the bullshit, you really look stupid.
Right.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, people are going to listen to it for so long anyway, and then they're going to look at you and go, well, how stupid are you?
Yeah, you're still there. Well, that's like I told you, several podcasts ago about the transmission guy. Gave me the best piece of marital advice I ever had. Newlyweds, just a year or so into it, and I was up there and we were working on my car, and he's like, hey, I was complaining. Wasn't talking bad about my wife, but I was complaining about, my marriage, my relationship, what was going on. And he tells me, hey, dude, shut your mouth. You need to shut up right now, and you need to tell me 3 good things about your wife right now. He says, because if you keep this shit up, you ain't going to be married for much longer.
Right.
And, I mean, that cat's still married. He was married probably 15 years then, and he's still married. I just ran into him a couple weeks ago.
It's funny. I always tell my wife, I'm like, there has never been a time in 25 years that I've been married that I've gotten in my car after work and not wanted to go home.
Yeah.
And that says a lot.
That's saying something there.
And that is God's honest truth. Now, do I have a perfect relationship or a perfect marriage? You guys know we've had multiple conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say I got a bad one, but we all have our challenges.
No, but
right?
home is still home.
Right.
It's still your castle.
There is no
But-
leave it to beaver marriage.
But if you got a husband that don't want to come home,
Ooh, yeah.
you really need to do some soul searching.
Yeah.
You need to really look in the mirror and ask yourself some really tough questions, like, why does my husband not want to come home?
What's going on?
Yeah.
I
was driving home today. I left work and I told my wife, I said, I'm heading to the house. Well, I think she thought I was close or whatever. And I'm on the phone talking to my dad, on the way, and she's trying to beep in, but I'm on long distance with my father. I'm talking to him. So it took me a little bit to get done talking to him and call it over. And she's like, where you at? And I said, I'm pulling into the neighborhood. She's like, oh, well, I was getting worried because you said you were, it sounded like you were almost home and you hadn't been home in about 20 minutes. I said, honey, I just left the plant when I called you, But, it's like, you think about it, she was legitimately concerned about my safety. Like, are you okay? I haven't,
Right.
And you know what? That piece, I talk to guys all the time, and I've said this before, they think men, all we want is sex. You know what I mean? But men at our age in their 40s, in Fritzy's case, 50s, we want, don't get me wrong, we want some sex, but
That ain't all.
we want peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And respect.
I mean, peace and respect. To know that you go home and the person that's there is glad you're showing up, that cares about whether you're going to make it home, that appreciates you as a husband and as a father, as a provider. That, when you come into the house, there's no chaos, there's no drama, there's no bullshit.
Right.
All that's left behind you in the workplace and in the world. That your place of rest should be your home. That should be your place of refuge.
Yeah.
And, if you want to give your husband the ultimate respect, make sure that place is a place like that for him to come home to.
Right.
Because that's what men need. Because we've got other things coming at us. We've got all kinds of other bullshit being tossed at us. And at the end of the day, we just want to go home and find some peace.
Yeah.
And be appreciated.
And
All right, breaking sports news with Freddie. NFL legend James Brown has died at age 87, just passed away. Jim Brown.
Are
Wow.
you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow. That is huge.
Bring it to you live right here
87.
Wow.
on War Are We Ready podcast.
I know this
Jim
is
Brown.
a cliche thing, but that's a good life.
Dude,
yeah,
87.
right?
You're talking about a dude that was at the height of his career and walked away to become an actor.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, and
Yep,
he was
an actor.
He at his point in time, he was the greatest football player to ever play. And there are people that believe that would say today that he's the greatest football player of all time.
Yeah.
He definitely set the tone for African Americans in the NFL. Just a great pioneer, great role model. I think his outside of the football work that he did was so much. It was even more greater than what he did actually on the field because he was really like a mentor. We talk a lot about that on the podcast of being a mentor.
He was an upstanding individual.
Oh, he was there. He
really,
was there
really
for,
was.
Those young dudes somebody to really look up to and to aspire to be. So, our prayers and our thoughts definitely go out to the family.
Yeah, I thought folks would
Well, I appreciate
would
that.
want to hear that.
Absolutely.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
we're talking about men being a great man, and Jim Brown is definitely one of them.
He knew
Yep.
his purpose wasn't football.
Yeah,
And you
and that's
can get the
great.
full story at Fox Sports Radio. That's where I got the.
Awesome.
Football was a tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
That he
He was
used.
a great individual and deserves the honor.
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, but that's it's sad, but it's also one of them situations too where you look at the totality of his life and all the things that he's done and all the things he represented. It really encompasses what we talk about here on this podcast.
You betcha.
So, want to thank you for that, Freddie.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you sharing
Yes,
that with
sir.
the listeners.
So like we were talking about, the lady you had mentioned that, if your man's not coming home and he's avoiding, he's happier outside of the workplace, and they need to do a little internal reflecting to see what's going on. Those are conversations that you got to have with your man, and the man's got to have the balls to stand up and tell
You
your
bet.
wife, tell your significant other what's going on. Let me know what's happening.
Well, here's another part too. I mean, this is for the ladies too. And I know I'm not beating up on women. Don't
No.
get me wrong.
We're trying to
love
give-
and respect women, but we're trying to give you a perspective here of where men are coming from.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can better understand us. With your children, you've got to show your husband respect by stepping back and allowing him to step in.
Yeah.
Nothing frustrates me more than, and I see this a lot. You got single moms that meet great guys that willing to step in the gap, to be stepfathers and to be role models. And you love the loving and you love the gifts and you love to spend the time, but the first time he's going to discipline their asses, you want to jump in and remind him that he's not their father.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate slap of disrespect you can put on a man, especially if you want him to be a father to your children.
Yeah, I'm good enough for this, and this, but not.
And it's even, that's bad enough. Do that to a man that is actually the father of a child.
Oh, yeah.
That is blatant disrespect.
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the thing you got to ask yourself, and I saw this on the Steve Harvey show, a little clip from him, and he made a great point on this. He's like, this woman said, well, sometimes I just think, Steve, he's just being too hard on the kids, and I just step in, and he's like, well, do you love your husband? And she's like, well, yeah. He goes, is your husband the type of man that you would want your boys to raise up to be? And she's like, yes. He's like, well, then get out of the way.
Yep.
Let
Steve
him raise,
said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, let them men raise those boys to be men.
They know what it takes.
He's like,
somebody else knows other than Dr. Phil?
Yeah.
Yep.
And well, it's not that I'm trying to get you are getting in the way, and that's the problem. I mean, ladies, listen, boys are different than girls.
Right.
A boy needs to be trained up and brought up to be a man. Well, the only person that understands what that is a man.
Yep.
And you know what? Being a man isn't easy. It's hard. Nope. It's sacrificial. It's selfless. It's work. And if he made a point. He goes, spoiled boys grow up to be bad men.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to sit there and spoil your kids, another guy put it best. He said, he goes, discipline your children, and you can spoil your grandchildren.
Right.
Spoil your children, and you'll be raising your grandchildren.
Yep.
Bam.
That's a mic drop right there.
That right there says it all, right?
Yep.
So when you think about it from that regard, you've got to let a man step in and raise his son.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with your daughter. Your daughters are only going to understand what to expect from a man from their father.
Yeah.
Girls and boys, and I hate to say this, I don't hate to say it, it's the truth. Both get their validity from the father. It's designed that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, a man can't raise a girl to be a woman because we don't know what it is to be a woman.
No.
But the value that she's going to have in herself, a lot of it's going to come from her father.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say all of it because there are great moms out there, and there's a lot that you do. But as far as, raising them up with certain ideals, values, expectations, discipline, and all those things are instilled a lot by the father. And at the end of the day, a good man doesn't want his wife to have to do all that anyway.
Oh,
Right.
Talk it, Johnny.
She needs to be the nurturer, the lover, the guider, the direct, the person that's there to, to show them, empathy and love and compassion. And men do too. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there's something special about a mama. All right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
I'm not taking nothing away from the ladies at all.
We both have our rules.
Love our mamas, right?
Yeah.
But if you keep stepping in between your husband and your kids, you are disrespecting your husband.
Well, you're cutting a part of the child's life out, that discipline part, or that male security, because it's been proven that a child, if they are emotionally hurt, their first instinct is to call for mom. Mom, mom. If they're physically hurt, their first instinct is to call for dad. And that just goes to show that they're both needed, but they both carry the same weight in the relationship. It's just two completely different types of weight.
Well, and if you emasculate your husband in front of your son, you're teaching your sons to be emasculated.
Yeah.
That's normal practice.
Your daughter is going to marry.
Wow.
Yeah, your daughter is going to marry you, and your son is going to marry the mama.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
And you're raising them up to be weak.
Depending, if you're jumping in, if you're not letting it happen.
If mama's ruling the roost and daddy's taking a back seat and she's talking to daddy like he's one of the kids, let me tell you something. You want to show absolute disrespect to your husband? Tell your friends he's one of your other kids.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I would be damned if my wife ever said, I've got 3 children, the 2 kids and my husband. That shit ain't even cute.
My husband's my first.
Nah, I don't play that game.
Oh, yeah.
I've got a mommy and I got a daddy, and she ain't either one of them. She's my wife.
Yep.
And I tell my kids all the time, there's nothing that your mother can do for me that I can't do for myself. But I like it better when she does it.
Oh, yeah.
That's bullshit.
I mean, a sandwich is always better when mama makes it. Cookies are always better when mama makes them, too. I ain't about to, I ain't even scared to tell you that.
Oh, but Candy's cookies ain't bad. That's
Oh, you damn right they ain't.
You ain't said no to a cookie in a long
You
time.
damn right. That's one cookie I never turned down. Ain't no bullshit in that one.
I tell you what, there's one time my wife posted this little meme on Facebook or whatever, and she tagged me in it, and it was. I think that's exactly what it said. I have 3 kids. My husband's my oldest, and my 2 are the other. And I walked in the house. I saw it, and I walked in the house. I said, "What the hell is this?" She's like, "Oh, I thought it was funny." I'm like, "No, that's not funny." You know, and she was completely not trying to be disrespectful or
Trying
anything.
to be cute.
Just thought it was cute, you know. But that's the world.
Yes.
That the world accepts that. The world expects that.
Not my world.
Right. So, but I addressed it. I wasn't mean. I wasn't rude. I'm like, no, that's not right. I mean, I get the world does it, but that's not good in a relationship. Period.
Got something for that, guys.
Hold my drink, bitch.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so
that happening.
you know, after that conversation, she was like, "Well, I didn't realize that upset you that much." I'm like, you know, personally, it didn't upset me because I know what you were doing, but I don't want you to partake, and I won't partake in, you know, that type of activity.
Worldly bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. I won't do it.
I ain't doing it either. I mean,
And
you're going to respect me as your husband
Yeah.
or marry somebody else. It's really that simple.
And like I said, it wasn't.
Word, Johnny.
Yeah, like I said, she wasn't intentionally being disrespectful. She just thought it was a cute meme, and she posted it. But I told her, I was like, "Look, I'm not going to participate in this stuff."
Well, you got to realize, too, you know, we can say whatever we want, but a lot of these ladies are exposed to a lot of this shit because they're so caught up in social media and everything that there's an actual, you know, idea out there that certain things are just acceptable. Like this is automatically funny or this is automatically, you know, cute.
That's truth.
And they really don't put much more thought into it other than, that's funny, you know.
Topical.
Well, they're almost kind of taught to put the man down, you know, because all the sitcoms and TV shows,
Especially nowadays.
the man is made lesser.
Yeah.
Especially
The woman's
nowadays.
in charge. She's the brains.
Yeah. Well,
Like I said, we both have equal parts.
yeah.
Yes, we do.
100, baby. 100. And it's 100, 100. It ain't 50, 50. 50,
No.
50 don't work.
Amen to that.
You got to give 100% of yourself. She's got to give 100% of herself.
Divorce is 50-50.
Yeah.
Relationships 100-100.
I don't know. In America, sometimes it's 75-25.
I hope to God I never to find
Yeah,
out.
no, me either. Yeah, it's cheaper to keep her. Ain't even. Yeah, but again, I mean, we joke around about a lot of things, but respect, it's huge. You can't disrespect your husband and think your husband thinks you love him. Because if you disrespect a man, what he hears is, you don't love me. And let me say that again for the ladies that are listening. You need to understand and let this burn in deep. When you disrespect your husband and show your husband a lack of respect, you are saying to your husband, I don't love you. Because that's what he hears. Because love for a woman is respect for a man. They go hand in hand. They run parallel. And it doesn't matter whether you think it's stupid or you don't agree with it or it's ridiculous. That's what it is. That's what it is. And you know, and the fellas that are listening to this too, I mean, just as much as we want respect, we have to earn respect too. We get respect by being respectful and being honorable. Do the shit you're supposed to do. Be where you're supposed to be, you know, and be the man that you're called to be. And your wife should have no reason not to respect you. The other thing is, you guys that are listening, if you're accepting disrespect, you're part of the problem. Don't sit there bitching, whining, and crying about how you're not getting respected at home. Respect is earned, given, or it's taken. Now, you don't have to take respect physically, so don't get it twisted. I don't want people listening to this thinking, oh, you go home and you just take respect from your wife. I'm not talking physically. But you know what? You know, you're going to respect me. Either because I've earned your respect, you know, you should give me respect. But if you want to, if I got to, I'm going to take your respect, which means I'm going to stand up for myself. And I'm going to push back, and I'm not going to put up with the bullshit. And we got a lot of guys out there that are so passive and lazy, they just put up with it because it's easy. You know, that's not a man. And you know what? Maybe you don't deserve any respect if you're going to do that kind of shit. I'm just being honest with you. If you're okay with your wife showing you disrespect because it's easy, you don't want to deal with it, and you know she takes on all the responsibility, and you can sit on your ass and play video games and not do what you're supposed to do as a man, and all you got to do is listen to her gripe and complain, and it becomes like Charlie Brown school teacher, want. You're the problem, bro. You get what you give. But if you're that wife that, all you're doing is just in his ear 24/7 because you've got your own hurts and hang-ups and past, that's the other part of it before we close in this podcast. I just want to say, leave your past in the past. Don't make the person you're with today pay for the sins of the person you had in the past. They got nothing to do with it. And so many good relationships, so many marriages are torn apart because we're caught up in bullshit that happened to us 15 years ago from somebody that your spouse doesn't even know a damn thing about. And it goes both ways. And don't disrespect your husband because your last husband or your last boyfriend was a piece of shit. Or I'm not going to let somebody hurt me again. I'm going to be guarded. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He's not going to do that. You start making those agreements, ladies, and you're going to be alone. Because a good man is not going to put up with it. A good man is not going to accept disrespect. Now, if you want to run around with sheep, that's your business. But if you want to roll with a lion, you better show some respect. Because if you don't give it, he will take it. Because that, my friends, that's where the rubber meets the road.